Good morning. Welcome to a new episode of my Ferocious Fiat. This isn't a Lotus. Wait, this isn't a Lotus? This is my 2012 Fiat 500 Pop. My original plans when buying the Lotus Elise were to use it as a daily driver, but that was before I had ever actually driven one. And I live in Boston, Massachusetts, and Boston is known for one thing and one thing only when it comes to driving, and that is terrible roads. Before I had ever driven the Lotus Elise, I had assumed that it would be possible to daily drive it in a city like Boston, and I guess theoretically it is possible, but it would also be a pretty bad idea and likely to cause a lot of trouble, usually serious. Driving the car itself isn't really the problem. The suspension's very hard, and so driving over the terrible roads that we have here is not the most fun thing ever, but it's not impossible. The real trouble in Boston is parking the vehicle. The Lotus Elise has a composite fiberglass body that can be damaged by just about the slightest tap imaginable, and the car is so small that if you're directly behind a normal sized car, there's a very good chance that it won't see you at all when the driver gets inside. This makes parking the Lotus Elise on the street a rather dangerous proposition, and it seems extreme, and you're being too precious with the car to say that, but the reality is that they do get totaled out very, very easily. And even if they don't, it can take so long to get parts from Lotus that you'll wish it had been totaled out. That's really the issue. If something happens to the car that needs repair and replacement of a part, you can be without the car for a fairly long time. Last year, about 2 weeks after I bought my Lotus Elise, I was at a stoplight and a large box truck started backing up and pulling out into the road, didn't see me, and pulled right into my driver's side door. It only did minor damage, but the door had to be replaced and repainted. From start to finish, it took almost 3 months for me to get my car back. And that's just the reality of waiting to get parts from Lotus. And if you're using an authorized Lotus repair center, which in the US mostly means authorized dealers, you're limited to their availability and how quickly they can get their cars in. My shop happens to be a really busy one, and they work on all kinds of amazing stuff, but they weren't able to start on my car right away, and it just it's not like getting into a normal collision where you drop it off and a week later you've got your car back. You can really be without the car for months at a time. If you live in a place like Texas or California, or places that are wide open and have better roads and you don't have to worry about parking and things so much, it might be possible to daily a Lotus Elise. Not sure I would want to. It's a really great car and it's so much fun, but I did daily mine for about 2 months last year, and after about 2 months the car started to feel normal and routine, and that's not something that I really ever want to happen when I'm driving something as awesome as the Lotus Elise. I want it to feel like an event. I want it to be a special experience. I want to get in the car because I'm going for a particular drive, or I'm going on a trip. What it was designed for is not necessarily A to B transportation. There are many, many cars better for that. This car, this Fiat 500 Pop, is infinitely better as A to B transport. So I bought this car once I realized that daily driving a Lotus Elise in Boston was unrealistic, and that I didn't want to put unnecessary miles on it and an unnecessary wear on the car. We also have fairly snowy winters here, and while I plan to take the Lotus out this year and put winter tires on it, it's not exactly the kind of car you really want to be driving in a blizzard. Even if the Lotus would be fine, and it probably would, it's other drivers in Boston that I would be slightly concerned about. Compared to the Lotus Elise, the Fiat 500 feels like I'm driving an S-Class. It is very smooth, comparatively. It's not a great car. It's an okay car. I like it a lot. It's a good commuting car. It's rattly. It's, sometimes a little rough. It's a 2012 with 45,000 miles on it, with an automatic transmission. Has a sunroof, the Bose premium sound system. It had just about everything. A nice red and black interior with the cream accents. It has a power sunroof. So it's a really nice car for general day-to-day commuting. I have driven it long distances. I drove it from Boston to Fort Worth, Texas over the last winter. And I would certainly drive it on a long trip. It doesn't have a ton of storage space, but it's not too bad. It has a lot more than the Lotus does. That said, I think I will not be keeping this for a terribly long amount of time. I think this was sort of a temporary car because I needed something to daily that was inexpensive, reliable, and still fun. And this does all of that, and I have no regrets buying it. But as I've gotten more and more interested in cars after buying the Lotus, I think I want to upgrade to some sort of GT car that has a little more space and is a little more comfortable for long trips.